Hit us, Dylan. What episode?
We are on When the Bough Breaks, episode 17. And I will just jump right into the plot summary because that is what I do. And
That is your life. Do it.
Alright, plot summary. The Enterprise encounters... Oh boy, this is off to a great start. Serious space is on. Go. The Enterprise encounters the mythical planet of Aldea, a civilization so advanced that it cloaked itself for centuries. The people of Aldea propose a trade. Their people are dying and they cannot have children, so they ask the Enterprise to trade their children for the Aldeans' knowledge. The Enterprise refuses, and the Aldeans steal the children, which includes Wesley Crusher. Much to your chagrin, I bet, Tyler. But anyways, the Enterprise works on a way to get them back while the Aldeans try to nurture their talents. Wesley is set up a computer known as the Custodian, where he learns that the Aldeans don't know much about it and prefer not to question it. Eventually, the children grow weary and start asking for their parents. Meanwhile, after sneaking out some scans of an Aldean, Dr. Crusher discovers that they are suffering from a form of radiation poisoning due to the planet's ozone layer being depleted. It is also revealed that the Aldean's technology is what caused the depletion of the ozone. Exploiting a fluctuation in the planet's shield, the Enterprise beams down an away team and sabotages the computer, getting their kids back. They promise to help the Aldeans recover from their sickness, and boop-de-de-doop, all is well.
Yeah.
Woo!
Man, the quality of the first season just vacillates so wildly from episode to episode that I just don't even understand what's going on. But it was...
Also, is vacillate a word?
Yes.
Okay, because I've never heard it before. I was just curious, because I heard that word and I was like, vacillate? What?
Sounds
like
alternate or
vacillate.
waver between different opinions or actions. So I kind of used it wrong. It's not an opinion, but the quality, it is my opinion, I guess, but it just goes all over the place. Like, from the last episode that we just recorded today to this one, it's almost like a different show in some of the production quality and stuff, but...
Yeah.
I don't hate this episode either. I like this one and the last one a lot better than most of the ones that we've had to do.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think, like, if we took the last two episodes, the last one and this one, and we compared them to, like, stuff we'd watched today, like, they probably wouldn't be considered very good, but just compared to what we've dealt with over the past, like, 15 or so episodes that we've reviewed.
Our way is running.
We don't speak of that, okay? We just don't. But compared to what we've dealt with, like, these episodes are practically leagues above.
Yeah.
Because we're getting close to the end of the first season, and things are actually starting to shape up a bit more. Like, it isn't anything stellar yet, but it's definitely, like, much more watchable.
It feels like Star Trek now.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Whereas
like
before it was like, here's Picard and here's them, but they all have no characterization and they're just doing ridiculous crap. And now they're actually starting to become consistent a little bit. I mean, Picard, I'll just say I get a little weirded out because Picard, he has stuff that leaves him in wonderment later on in the show, but for the most part he's very serious.
Mm-hmm.
And in this show and in this episode and some of the other ones in this season, he's just like a wild-eyed little kid. And it's just kind of strange to see.
Yeah.
Like every time the holodeck showed up, he was like a 5-year-old. And then when there's like a mystical planet, he's like, yes, let me tell you the story because I know about every planet apparently.
Actually,
or is it Riker?
Yeah, that's Riker that does that. And I did think that was kind of like off-putting a little bit in the beginning. Was him just being like, oh my god. Oh dear, let me tell you the story behind it. Oh, 2 minutes later, it's true!
Yeah, I don't know how he had time to learn about some random planet in the middle of nowhere when he's watching harp women in his room all the time, but...
Somehow I knew this was going to come to that when Riker came up. It always does. It's all about the harp women, man.
Anyway.
But yeah, that was him, that was Riker, not Picard, in this episode. That was kind of weird, but like that just sort of falls by the wayside, and he basically just is there to be like, here's exposition, now here's the planet.
Yeah. And wasn't that the cold open again? It was like a really anticlimactic.
Well, because it's like, here's this mythical planet that people have been searching for centuries and stuff, and, no one's even sure if it exists. Oh god, look, it exists!
Like mid-conversation.
It literally is.
I don't know why they needed the mystical part. They could have just ran into a planet. But
I guess to set up the fact that, like, they know about it, but it is kind of odd. They could have handled it
or
better.
that there's, like, rumors of, they could have done, I think, like, rumors of, like, transmissions or something could have done better than, like, it's legend, oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it sets up this, like, big grand quest. It's like, oh, quest is over, we found it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, going back to our talk about how, like, this first season is just vastly improving now, I will say that one of the two good things I wrote down for this episode was that the plot moves at a very good pace for what it's trying to do. Because in most of the previous episodes, we'd get the vague sense of, something is going to happen, but, they'd spend about, like, 20 minutes just
getting to it
off and doing, like, random stuff. Whereas in this episode, I think even before the credits roll, the children get kidnapped. Unless I'm wrong about that.
That's later, Dylan. Because first the crew gets beamed down. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I remember they hint at it because they're all scanning them or something, but the children get kidnapped within like the first 15 minutes, which is much better than...
Well, stuff in general happens. Normally, like if this was like the third episode of the season, it would have been Riker talking about the legend, and then Data would have gone on the holodeck for a while, and then Picard would have sat in his office talking to Crusher about something. Maybe talk about Wesley to establish that Wesley will be in the episode, and then they'll get to the planet. Like
you just have this like all planned out, don't you?
No,
but
like
I'm just formula written down for like the first half of the season. Like this is how episodes go.
Well, it's pretty much constant. There was always a Wesley conversation in a lot of the episodes.
There really was, yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
This is going to be a long one.
It moves along at a very good pace, like setting up the central conflict and then spending the rest of the episode dealing with that conflict rather than hinting at a central conflict, dicking around for 20 minutes, and then showing the central conflict and wrapping it all up in like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like, because now they're actually just writing scripts for the show. And a lot of the early episodes were kind of recycled ideas from Phase 2, I think. The second original series show that never happened.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think as the season went on, they finally did some more planned out stuff that fit the show better. And it wasn't just like, here's an idea we were going to use, now pad it out for 50 minutes. Now it's like they're writing for the show more, if that makes any sense.
It doesn't, yeah, like, this episode and the episode before don't really have any, like, non-essential scenes, I guess. Like, not a lot, like, happens in the episode, but all the scenes are at least directly related to what's going on, instead of just being like, hey, here's this random scene that could have been from anywhere.
Yeah, I think I still think they're a little slow, and I think it's because later on in the show they start to master, like, a B-plot that actually matters. But for this, they're at least nailing a main story.
Yep.
Which is an improvement, so.
Yeah. My second good that I wrote down was that the episode actually does have a fairly, like, intriguing little moral dilemma going on. Because like I said in the summary, the central plot around this is that this planet, like, they can't have kids. Like, no one on the planet can have children anymore, and so they've been slowly dying out for however long. It's never really quite established, but I would guess, like, at least a century. But they're slowly dying out, so they kidnap these kids to raise them and start a new generation of Aldeans because they feel like they have no other choice because their scientists could never figure out what the problem was, and of course, they were like the last remaining ones. Like there's only like, you only really see like 10 of them in this episode, and I think it's pretty much assumed that they're like all that's left.
Mm-hmm.
So there's at least like a bit of an interesting moral dilemma instead of just being like, hey, bad stuff.
Yeah. One of my main notes in this is there's just some weird stuff that gets said. So when the crew initially gets beamed off of the ship forcibly, like they're just kind of in orbit around Aldea, I think, and then a bunch of people get beamed off, and instead of being like, "Oh my God, our crew just got abducted," battle stations, Picard's like, "Interesting choices," and it's just like they just abducted your crew, dude. What are you doing? And he's just super chill about it. And then there's another part where the kids get beamed down. And Wesley gets beamed down right in front of everybody, and then 5 to 10 seconds later, Crusher's like, "They've taken my son." I was like, "Thanks, Doc."
I will say for the first part, I'm pretty sure they mentioned something about, we'll beam you down when we're ready. So I guess, like, in that circumstance, it doesn't feel so weird to me. But yeah, in the second circumstance, it's just kind of like, oh no. I guess it's like they have to wait for the transporter sequence to finish before they can react.
And then everyone saw Wesley get beamed down, so. But anyway, with the first one, maybe I just reacted a little wrong, because it came off to me like there was really no choice. They just sent a message like, "We're gonna beam you down now." And I don't know, maybe I interpreted it wrong, but I just was like, that's a weird reaction for him to have.
Yeah, I suppose. Like, Picard's just been blatantly, like, off-putting for this entire season, I will say. Like, his character is very strange.
Picard is a hyper-serious military commander. Picard is a wide-eyed little boy.
Picard hates children.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. The only other couple things I had were about kind of the end, so what else do you got?
One thing I noticed, and this is just, like, kind of a nitpicky little thing, but at this point in the show, Counselor Troy's empathic abilities are, like, wildly inconsistent.
Yeah.
Because I think at the beginning of this episode, she said something to the effect of, "Oh, they want something from us, something that we value very much." And I'm sitting here thinking, you're only supposed to be able to feel emotions. That sounds a lot more like telepathy to me.
Yeah.
Like, she goes from, it's like she sometimes just gives out, like, way more information than she should feasibly have concerning, like, the way her abilities are supposed to work. Because she's only half Betazoid, so she's only supposed to be empathic.
She's just a walking sexualized plot device, anyway, so...
She is pretty much just the one, like, she is the, like, the embodiment of just foreshadowing or something. Like, oh, you need me to foreshadow something now, okay.
So she senses whatever the writers need her to sense so that they can finish their script on time.
Yep.
I don't know. It is, I noticed that too, I forgot to write it down, but when you said that I remembered, like, every episode, the power that she has is, like, greater or lesser.
Yeah,
sometimes
like,
she can just feel
like, oh,
negative
he's holding
feelings.
Something. Yeah, sometimes like, oh, he's holding something back, which is like, okay, I can see that. But then, like, when she's blatantly like, oh, they want something that we value very much.
Yeah.
That seems a little too specific.
They want Riker's Harp Women program. Riker's like, no, attack. But, yeah. Wesley wasn't the worst in this episode.
Yeah, Wesley was actually, like, he had, like, a purpose, and, like, it felt like, you know, I guess logical for him to be, like, the leader of the children, because he is, like...
the oldest,
Yeah, because the children that they take, like, all of them are, like, kind of first grader-ish looking.
Yeah, very young.
Very young. Which, now that I think about it, it's really strange that one little kid, his father is forcing him to take calculus.
Yeah, like, but it's the 24th century, I don't know.
That's true. I did just realize, like, that is a little weird, but okay.
Maybe anyway, he's a little genius, I don't know.
It's possible, yeah. But I mean, he didn't want to do calculus, though. He wanted to be an artist or something. Or he didn't know he wanted to be an artist, but that's a whole other thing that happens in the episode. Yeah. It's one of the talents that the Eldians nurture, along with playing music and other things.
Mm.
But, yeah, my other... I had two good and two bad, and my other bad for this episode is that some of the acting is really, really awkward at times. Like, most of the time it's okay, but then there's like a couple scenes in there where it's just really, really stilted. Like, the scene where Crusher has Wesley, like, stealthily scan the old lady.
That was one of my notes, yeah.
Like, it's completely, like, not only is it, like, completely obvious that they're doing something, because he's literally, like, standing behind her, like, holding this thing up, like, hey, I'm not doing anything. Don't look at me.
So for anyone who hasn't seen it in a while, it's that part where Crusher convinces them to let her see her son. So she comes down, and then they go, and they're right by the, whatever the computer's name is.
The custodian?
Yeah, they're right by the custodian or whatever with the lady who watches over it, and Wesley. And she hands him the tricorder, or, like, the little cylindrical part. And so he's, like, scanning, and, like Dylan said, it's just the most obvious thing. I'm surprised their conversation while they were doing it is like, do you like to scan people? Oh, no, I would never scan someone.
Well, and then I remember specifically one of his lines was that they're treating us like gods or something, which is, what? It's a really odd line.
So, gods get treated like prisoners on a planet? Alright.
I don't know.
That was weird. There's a lot of weird lines, but...
It was like one of those scenes that, like, I was just watching, just like, you know, your shoulders are, like, scrunched up, and you're just sitting there, like, squinting, like, oh, please let it be over soon. This is so bad.
Scanning would be immoral if it went against someone's will. Let's make sure we never scan anyone, Wesley. Okay, bye.
Yeah. It was... like, they make very little attempt to hide it. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, when she hands him the thing, too, he holds it, like, open palm for, like, 5 seconds and then goes, oh, right, do.
Yeah, he's no secret agent.
Nope. And the old lady's obviously not very observant, but...
No.
I mean, plot device. That's all there is to it.
A lot of them going on, but... My other real note, and I brought this up when we recorded the last one, but... So at the end, they tell the Aldeans about how they can be saved from their sickness, and how the Enterprise will help them. And the main bad guy, who also played Deep Throat in X-Files...
Radu, yeah. I was going to mention that at the end of the episode if you didn't bring it up. Because I remember staring at him for the whole episode like, he's familiar, but I don't know why. Then looked it up and I was like, oh, now I know why.
Yeah. But yeah, he was that guy from X-Files, and he goes at the end like, you have destroyed us. And then... like, the next line, or second next line, whatever that he says, is like, we were so blind in all of our technical knowledge, blah, blah, blah. We're sorry. Like, on a dime. And it's like, oh, good job, writers. That was really convincing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was sort of meant to be like, you know, they weren't ever really, like, bad people, which kind of comes across well, although... There's one thing I want to talk about after you're finished with this that I just thought was kind of weird. But, you know, keep going. Unless that was it.
I was just saying, the way his character goes from, like, we'll never join you, to, we'll join you, within maybe 10 or 15 seconds. I was actually almost wanted to laugh at it, but...
Yeah, just kind of like the last episode where they changed so fast at the end because... Time's running out. We need to wrap this plot up pronto.
He and Karnas and a few other people, like the dude in the Ferengi episode who's like dressed like a wizard and is like, I will destroy you. Now I will walk with Riker and have a friendly conversation and laugh.
Oh yeah,
they can all join a club of weird one-off characters who completely change within 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's all the notes that I have, so...
Yeah, the one thing that I just want to say that I just, like, after watching the episode and thinking about it for a while, something just, like, stuck out to me that was really weird, but I didn't actually, like, write it down, because I don't think it directly, like, impacts the episode too much, but there's a scene in the episode where, as sort of, like, a demonstration of force, they shoot the Enterprise with, like, a repulsor beam thing or something that shoves them, like, 3 days worth of travel away at Warp 9 or whatever, and then he's like, and if you refuse our offer, we'll shove you back so far that when you get back, your children will be grandparents or something. And so, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, after I've watched the episode, like, why did they need to cloak themselves then?
Yeah, like, just repulse everyone.
Like, what, like, why is this necessary? Because the whole thing was that they were set up as like this culture that like was devoted to the arts and all those kind of things because
and building repulsor beams
and just stuff like that. Like they were supposed to be like this sort of peaceful-ish culture that was basically just devoted to happy things, and there wasn't really like any hint of a military presence. And then suddenly it's like super powerful repulsor beam of doom. Like, all right.
It was yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like
it's just hashtag first season things.
Yep. It's one of those just sci-fi things where it doesn't make any logical sense, but you just have to accept it because that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But because at the very beginning of the episode, they make a note. Like I think Riker makes a note of the fact that they cloak themselves to evade like marauders and pirates and stuff, people who would do them harm. But it doesn't really seem very necessary to me when you have a repulsor beam that can shove them, 50 years away or something, like whatever he was insinuating.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was also just kind of, that scene just felt a little out of place with, the whole like, oh, we're peaceful, like we wanna compensate you for, the fact that we just stole your kids, but now I'm threatening you with stuff.
Yeah.
It was weird. But that's the only other thing I had to say. I felt like that bit was
still much better than a lot of the first season
episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's why I didn't write it down under any of them, because it's just one of those weird little things that you notice in shows sometimes, but it doesn't actually, like, make the episode, like, far worse as a result.
I haven't seen anything this season that matches up to later seasons, even close yet. But we're getting there. We're climbing up the hill a little bit, so I'm curious to see if there's going to be any other really terrible ones before season 2 and in season 2.
We only have, like 5 episodes left, I think, max.
Yeah, so we'll find out, but
we'll see.
I'll rate this one a solid, 6 repulsor beams out of 10.
6 repulsor beams out of 10. I would probably give it about the same, a 6 or a 7. Because I don't
not
consider
bad, not great.
Yep. I don't consider it quite as, good as the last one. Like, if I had to pick between the two, I would say the one we reviewed before this was just a little bit better, but this one was enjoyable as well. Like, they're definitely getting to the point where, you can watch them all the way through without just, cringing.
Yeah. Or, falling asleep. Or laughing like a madman.
I suppose, yes. You've had many of an experience with that.
Our way is running, Dylan.
Our way is running.
Are we good then?
It's our way. Yeah, I'd say we're good. I think that's about wraps it up.
Okay, what's the next episode?
Bye.
What's the next episode?
Next episode? Oh boy, I don't know actually. Well, off the top of my head, I can't say. But it will be episode 18. So, tune in next time.
Tune in next time for Home Soil. Peace out.